Welcome to the show, Monk. Or I guess not Monk anymore.
What's the
Not
new
a monk.
name?
Well, I just got a new one. Not a monk. Let me change it here. Thank you guys for giving me that.
Yeah,
I
not a
can't
monk.
say it only came from you, but yeah,
So not a
yeah.
monk. It's a big change after so many years of a monk.
Such a big, such a big change for sure.
What's coming up? What's coming up? Is there like new sexual desires? Is there desires to make money? Like where are you at? I'm curious.
Yeah, I also see you're eating food. That's a good sign.
Yeah, I was, I was at the Mahakumbala eating shit and drinking piss. Um, it was a tough time, but what's next? I think it's we just have to keep working in our group, with the Guruji and with the group, and then start up a center, start up a nice center, have some studios and things like that for live streaming. And uh, the money's cheap. Money's really cheap to come by. So, it doesn't seem like that, but it's easy. You just need one person, benefactor, and then it's all set. So with the outreach and just continuing like that, eventually they'll come because they're looking for the same things that we're looking for. They don't want to work, and as long as long as the path is available, who's not going to want the path? Who's not going to want freedom and safety and all that? And we put in the work, and then you get back as much as you give, and uh, it's definitely it's definitely matter of fairness. Is difficult to work through, and like jealousy and all that, and that's why the sexual desire thing is such a problem because it's not just going to be a guy and his girlfriends. It's going to be a community, and that runs pretty deep. Um, and going around, seeing who has the bigger dick or something like that. That's not gonna play there. So it's just kind of working through all those kinds of things and being, yes, sexuality is there, but just seeing its lack of importance and then going from there.
Mm. So what kind of difference are you seeing in monk life and uh, not a monk life?
Are you gonna start not shaving again?
Well, I like shaving. I like shaving my head because I'm bald. But might let it grow out for a little bit. Jason Statham's very popular, and uh, see how that goes. But what's the difference? It's just life experience, and sharing life experience. Yeah.
Wow. What about the monk's rules? You think you're gonna have a hard time adjusting to doing whatever you like? No rules?
Big time. I mean, I'm thinking a lot about vacation, and so it's kind of a choice between. Uh, so you get to a point in the real letting go where it's kind of a choice between like losing everything. So you lose your memories, you lose everything, and when you go to that place or that point, there's no guarantee that you will come back. So like you in the figurative sense can actually die. The body can die. You'll just die. You'll just be gone. And if you do come back, you won't be a normal person in terms of doing things that you want because you won't have any desires. What you won't be able to desire anything. So I'm just kind of towing the line with that, and you can. That's real samadhi is being in very deep states of pristine, non-self and non-separation and no suffering. And then the farther that you toe the line in that, the more power you have, but also the less pull there is towards those base desires. And that's why, like Buddhist communities are so powerful and thriving and multifaceted. It's not necessarily because people went the full way and they're completely enlightened, but they can just share that non-identification with lust or desire. They can share that with others, and they say, well, okay, well, yeah, I mean, I'd rather live this way. Um, Tibetans, they have their own system, which is maybe more American, um, where you can be kind of a complete spiritual leader and also have, multiple wives or things like that. I mean, they're pretty wicked. Um, but the same thing, right? It's like searching for a palace when we should be searching for a community or building a community instead of searching for one, right?
What made you decide not to be a monk anymore?
I realized that that was my biggest attachment, and that it wasn't really who I was. I wasn't really a monk, and me walking around like a monk in India was kind of abrasive to my openness with everything. And I didn't want to be a symbol anymore. I realized that I didn't want to be a symbol. And a lot of things are still processing, but the redundancy of it is that all of this, like mental health issues and schizophrenia and anxiety, depression, etc., it's all complete bullshit. It's not a reliable approach to say I have anxiety disorder, I have depression disorder, I'm schizophrenic, etc. It's just a bad system that they're keyed into and that they're attached to and relying upon. So as much as they can detach from that, they can find a better system, such as this system that I'm a part of. And, it's not actually an issue. The issue is just the, the wealth of the community to be able to hold them and allow them to go through those processes. And if the community is kind of overrun by this position of money or this position of sexuality, um, then there's not really space for these kinds of people. And actually, these kinds of people, they'll energize the practice field, you know. And it's working through a model of racism, sexism, childism, ableism, environmentalism, and kind of redisintegrating that into a way of being, a way of presence, and just going from there. But the masculinity, the femininity, you don't want to fight with that. I'll tell you what, you don't want to fight with him and her. You don't want to go to war with him and her, especially here in India, because they, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. You don't want to do that. Um, so we just kind of have to be open, and we don't have to be monks and nuns, but we have to. So prepare it. No, no, no. I'm teaching Dhamma here. So just put your bowl there, and I'll go over there. Prepare for the. Also, there's going to be all kinds of different people fighting and yelling, and um, it's just a part of the training. So we also have to have different centers and different places. But for the men, men are protectors and providers, right? And so the lust element and the greed element for men need to explicitly be um, something to put down rather than something to figure out how to pick up higher and higher. You know, um, yeah. So it's good. It takes time, but it's kind of a time of no time as well.
Hmm.
Interesting. So you said one of the core pieces was that it was abrasive to your openness, or open. That's what you said, right?
What is
Like
it? What is it?
you said that your openness was abrasive to being a monk. And so, yeah, I'm curious to know a little bit more about like the thought process over the past few months. I imagine there must have been certain trigger points where you're like, actually, this doesn't make sense anymore. It doesn't make sense for me to be a monk. And there's like this disidentification that's probably been occurring. Um, yeah, what do you think those things are?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing about it, this disidentification, is that you don't need to be an American. You don't need to be a bearded man. You don't need to work somewhere. You don't need to work. You don't need to live somewhere in particular. You don't need to be someone in particular. And I kind of had become this monk in particular, and I realized that I wasn't that. And really, whatever I got from the monkhood, it's not like I could give up. So now, like giving up being a monk, I have to, come up with an identity. I don't have a name. And I also don't have a gender. If I'm anything, I'm non-binary. So, rolling with that for now. There's colors also. My name is a color. Um, so it's just a lot of unnecessariness, and I reached a point where I realized that being a monk wasn't necessary anymore.
The way that I see it
But
from
you
the
can,
outside in is that you're letting go of stories. So you're letting go of like certain belief systems that you had around what color is, what a name is, what identity is, what gender is. You're kind of just letting yourself free fall, is the way that I see it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, free fall and freely give and freely be, but there's a lot of platitudes in there that are not uh, also not relevant. So it also comes back to this place of practicality and like giving ourselves as a people the right to stop having answers and start having questions, and then for those questions to not be based on prejudgments. Yeah, and people will be pissed. I mean, people will be, even me being a monk. I mean, tons of people were pissed and aggressive. I mean, you Google my own name and people say all these negative things about me, and I was a pretty good monk, pretty great monk, pretty one of the best. One of the best monks that there were. It was Bhante Warapanya was fantastic. A little bit of a rebel, a little bit of a roller coaster, but really a great guy. All things considered. So it's not going to be about like just having a nice place and a nice situation. It's more like impermanence is more important than being nice. And that doesn't, last thing I want to do is be mean, but that doesn't mean that being nice is more important than impermanence.
So where do we go from now? What are you gonna do as not a monk?
Well, I'll still be, I can turn around the camera. Let me turn it around here. Wait. So I'll still be following Seattle Tamatara, and we have meditation centers around the world. You can see monks here. This one likes to hit me. And it'll be yeah, I'll continue following. I'm thinking about maybe taking a vacation, but probably not going to happen. um and kind of seeing more if there are more people who will be suitable students and want to be in that kind of relationship, and also people who um it's tough for me because I don't work and I don't sell anything. I don't use money. So, um, but that's what people understand. People understand selling something and using money and there being a program, and I don't think I'm really going to go down that road. So it's very few people who can follow and support with that. and it's really mostly women who are willing to support with that, um, just because men and women like each other. But being more open to working with people directly, and I guess having more confidence about my understanding and position in terms of worldly affairs and the spirit world, as an advisor, and doing more things like this as well, and supporting more happenings and group happenings like this. Yeah.
Did we have anything to do with you not being a monk?
I just surprised to see the Discord space, and surprised to see the degree of engagement and openness. Um, I don't know. The people of India definitely have a lot to do with me not being a monk anymore. I've learned a lot uh, from the people of India. These are hardcore people, and they're not people to mess around with. Uh, if you come to India, you better come correct, and they want what you've got, and they're going to get it one way or another. Uh, it's expensive. It's very expensive to be in India. I mean, you can see the Bill Gates and different people from wealthy people from around the world going to the Mahakumbhala, and they're going there because it's a rich spiritual source material field in which to I guess cultivate or develop or whatever. But because we're very interested about watching things and like consuming things, but it's much more interesting to like build things together. And when there's a lot of lust, or there's an interest in like power, it's very confusing uh, to follow someone, or to support someone, or to collaborate. It's like we've at least in the Buddhist field, like it's completely illegal to sit down and study together, to study the Dhamma together. Or at least it's very, very rare. It's very, very uncommon. And this is because we want to be right. We want to have the right position. We want to have the money in our account rather than theirs. Um, these kinds of things. And so it's really, for someone to be trustworthy, they have to be experienced in renunciation, and they have to not, like, the best leader is someone who doesn't want to lead. The best person who holds the infinity gauntlet is someone who doesn't want to hold the infinity gauntlet. You know, and it's not someone, and that person is not someone. And when you do go down that road, it's like life. All kinds of unexpected and strange things happen, and confusing things happen, and then it gets to this point of conflict because we have an idea about ourselves. And as much as you can release the idea that you have about yourself, you can work together. And what you find is that these people over there um, eat shit. Those people over there drink piss, and those people over there sit and meditate and enjoy the nature, etc. Infit to infinity and beyond, right, Mr. Buzz Lightyear? So it's not, there's not really anything to compete about in post scarcity. But the notion of scarcity leads us to never ending competition that is eh, doesn't isn't sustainable for wealth. You know what I mean? And I guess I've got to think about that now as a monk. How to make money and how to invest and do different things like that. But I'll take it easy and take it slow because the Buddhist community is there, and there's a lot of opportunity for just living a simple life. Where and we think about a lot, like a long-term plan, like 5 years. Give me a break. You're not going anywhere 5 years from now. That's not real. Time doesn't actually exist. Talk to the quantum mechanics, but time isn't like that. So thinking in terms of years more relates to like finding a place to plant a tree, not a place to have a big screen TV, you know. And both are okay. It's just, one's a lot more realistic and sustainable than the other one is. And if we can be comfortable with not having a big screen TV, uh, we can have a beautiful garden. Yeah. There's a lot of so there's a lot of keys, or there's a lot of like hidden knowledge that is contained in the peoples. So like the Indian peoples, the Chinese peoples, the Vietnamese peoples, the Western peoples, but that's not the kind of knowledge you want. And it's already the kind of knowledge we have. And so to go and get that information, you have to sacrifice these things that we sustain ourselves with. And you have to kind of go much closer to literally eating shit and drinking piss to be open enough for those people to say, "Hey, okay, you're a part of our community. You're here." And then once you have that information, it's just basically like money, and everybody loves money, especially Westerners. So the big question is kind of how to reach more Westerners, especially wealthy Westerners, to get them to support, this kind of movement and this kind of cause in all its different facets, not just one facet of it.
Are you going to the Isha Yoga Center?
We're gonna go for Maharashtra. We're gonna shoot for it. It's a
Nice.
long way away, but
Okay.
we're gonna shoot for it. No, Sadhguru's been a big support for me here in India. Brahmananda Swarupa, really, really helpful. And in terms of that, it's like a light with a shadow. It's like a light and a shadow, and it's just whatever we think up about it, it's presumptuous compared to the universe. And people get so lost in it because people don't have contact with a real tradition. They don't have contact with the ancestors. They don't have contact with the original mind Dhamma teachings. And so they may have great potentiality, but they get lost in conspiracy theories rather than getting lost in the Dhamma, right? And the Dhamma is, and this is kind of the illegality of it, is that we have so much attachments and so much personal fixation that to sit down and explore and discuss is kind of lost. Because there's always somewhere to go, there's always someone to be or someone to beat, which is the worst. I mean, and you stand no chance. It's like you might beat them, but how about their friends? Their friends are with them, and woo! It's a real therapy. Talk about therapy. It's rich. I mean, it's electroshock. I mean, it's the worst of the worst. So somehow we have to kind of find out how to do that more and more together. And Shiva, I think you're doing a great job, and you're connecting with all the right people, and it's really, it's really fantastic. Yeah.
What are you wearing? Why are you wearing all that?
So this, I mean, to go, I really don't have clothes yet, but one of my friends here, a Vietnamese nun, she took me out because when you get to a certain place in your sadhana, and you can kind of see this with the aguris and the Naga Babas, and I think a tradition is there. It's just a lot of very deeply covered information about the Buddha that and kind of some kind of war between the Buddha and the sadhus and the Brahmins, that the Muslims may have been collaborating with the Brahmins, and then of course the English came in. Um, so anyway, but when you get to that kind of point in your sadhana, and this also gets into the childism, it's pretty. It's pretty deep stuff. Um, but you can't really pick and choose, and it also gets down to like an unreliability of people when it comes to business, and that to to get to this point where we can actually help each other, we have to have businesses of friendship and businesses of mutual cooperation, materially and then also spiritually. But I was walking around in the Tibetan handicraft shop, and not a lot of things were big enough for me. I do have this shirt, and I guess I'm not a monk and I'm not anybody, so I can take it off. Uh, but this on the back, it has this eternal wisdom. So I do like this shirt, but probably have to wash it. And then otherwise, I like to wear skirts, kind of like I'm very masculine, but I wouldn't say I'm a man. Um, so I've got this shirt, and I've got kind of I'm wearing underwear for the first time in years, white underwear. And then this is like a white cloth. White is supposed to be very protective. So if you're getting overwhelmed by outside energies, white cloth, and this is pashmina, which is very preferable. Um, and then this is just a bag, Plum Village bag. You can go to Plum Village as well. It's expensive as all hell. You can get in. And then this is like a skirt. So this is kind of tie color, not ideal, but that's good enough. And then I have an undershirt that's like that too. Um, and yeah, I was naked. I did go naked into the Ganga for the Mahakumbhala. Um, yeah, it's been a journey, and a lot of it I can't talk about yet because it's just been processing. And if I just started talking about it, it'd be a little bit strange, which is okay, just not necessary. So a lot, very big importance on unnecessariness, because it just takes everything. I mean, it takes everything from you when you don't like say, look, this is unnecessary. Um, and then we can't say that to other people if we don't have that inside of ourselves. And now we're getting wrapped up in these constant tangles, never ending tangles about, oh, it's good, it's bad, no, it can't be this way, it has to be that way. It is this way. And we can leave it at that, and then things resolve themselves.
What's your given name, and are you gonna go back to the United States and, well, I don't know, make money, get a job?
Well, once we get into childism, it's a little bit intense, and I've got to take some time to process all of that. But I didn't have a name when I was born. Um, for having a Facebook, for making accounts, what's your name? What's your name? I don't have a name. I didn't have a name when I was born, and looking towards the States, I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of wonderful opportunities outside of the States, especially if you can save up a couple grand. I mean, you just skate with a passport for years if you're interested in sadhana, and if you're interested in volunteering and supporting and dealing with your stuff,
Yeah.
your shit.
So what does that actually say on your passport?
Mind your business.
Fair enough.
I mean,
Maybe.
I could get it to say that. I could
there you
change
go.
my passport, but
You said you have no name, so I'm just asking you a question. How do you
well,
get
when
through?
I say
How does one get through the world with no name?
tell people to fuck off. But on my passport, you can see I have
Don't show your passport, please.
oh, yeah. But I do. You can see my picture and my signature, or my picture at least. See, monk passport, but not a monk anymore. So it's like names. It's like, what is the name of this? What's the name of this? What's its brand? Where's it from? Who made it? Etc.
Yeah.
You can't really say. You know.
When I came to this realization, I realized also I don't have a name. My parents just gave me a label. It's not a name. But I choose my own
Right.
name. I chose my own name. What sound do I want to call this being? What do others label me as? I chose it myself. Shiva Kailash Shambho.
So I'll work on a name. I checked out Vajra, which just means wisdom, so that's fine, but it's a little bit uh unnecessary. So at least when I'm following the group, I don't need to have it. It's like if I'm alone, if I'm and I've been alone. I went to Mahakumbhala alone. Um, they want as much information as they want all your information. And it gets into this weird cultural control thing and race and all that, and it's not fun. Um,
Yeah.
but if you're with a group, it's different rules apply. If you're with a community, and so I right now I'm staying with the community to settle in and to revolve and resolve and just let things be. Because over time you build trust, and then with that trust, it's more natural to go crazy without fixation on being someone in particular.
All right. This has been a podcast with not a monk. He stopped being a monk. I think this is the beginning of something big.
Yeah. Can I give a few words here?
Absolutely, yes.
Um, so, dear friends, I can't, people who watch full videos, I mean, God bless you. It's great for you. So, if you like to be my student, if you like to be my supporter, if you like to get involved in some way, whatever you want to do, you can reach me at bhantevp@gmail.com. So, BHANTEVP@gmail.com. You can also check out my website, monklife.one, and needs to be updated and revised. And I'll be setting up an invite-only Discord server. So just for a small group of people, not as wide open as Shiva's wonderful Discord server, but it'll be there. So reach out to me. I'm happy to talk with you. And hey, if you've got money, share it.